If you're connected to over-the-phone life insurance sales in any capacity, then you must be educated in the latest FCC's enforcement of the updated TCPA laws. Today, we're covering the unfortunate decision made by a Fortune 500 insurance company that had costly ramifications. And stick around till the end, because I'm going to share with you a couple of statistics from this case that signify that this type of lawsuit will not be a one-off event. In 2019, Prudential Financial made headlines with its $2.35 billion acquisition of Assurance IQ, a startup that had rapidly positioned itself as a direct-to-consumer insurance platform. Assurance IQ leveraged cutting-edge technology to connect individuals with personalized financial and health insurance solutions. But just 5 years later, this acquisition turned into a cautionary tale. Today, we'll explore how this promising deal ended with Prudential shutting down Assurance IQ in 2024 and the lessons it holds for the entire insurance industry. Assurance IQ's story was remarkable. Founded less than 4 years before the acquisition, the startup grew exponentially by offering a seamless, tech-driven insurance shopping experience. Its platform used data and algorithms to recommend policies tailored to consumers' needs. This rapid growth convinced Prudential to invest heavily, hoping to bolster its direct-to-consumer channels and modernize its operations. Despite its promising start, Assurance IQ's operational practices soon drew criticism and consumer complaints. A major issue was its reliance on aggressive telemarketing strategies. According to consumer complaints, the company made calls using artificial or pre-recorded voices without containing the required prior express written consent from the recipients. These actions violated the TCPA Act, especially the new rulings that have come. To give you more context, the TCPA is a federal law enacted in 1991 to protect consumers from unsolicited communications. It requires businesses to obtain explicit consent before making marketing calls using automated systems or pre-recorded messages. Failure to comply can lead to severe penalties, as Assurance IQ experienced firsthand. Assurance IQ's violations were extensive. Consumers reported receiving numerous calls despite not providing consent, and some were even on the National Do Not Call Registry. The resulting $21 million settlement was one of the largest TCPA-related penalties in recent years. Legal analysts have pointed out that this case underscores the high risk of noncompliance, both financially and reputationally. Beyond the monetary fine, Assurance IQ's reputation took a significant hit. Customers began to associate the company with intrusive and unethical practices, which strained its abilities to attract new clients and retain existing clients. As a side note, I think it's important that we note the author of this article right here. Those of you who subscribe to this channel will remember how Eric and I recorded a podcast not long after the first of these rulings hit the scene last year. In the podcast, we cover how these new rulings impact the life insurance industry from the standpoint of 4 different entities: the agents, the IMOs, the carriers, and the lead generators. If you have not seen that podcast already, I would highly suggest you check that one out. And as an additional side note, Eric and I have just agreed to come on and do an update podcast to bring everybody back up to speed and provide further clarifications now that these rulings have officially gone into effect. We'll be announcing a final date for that podcast just within a couple of weeks. The regulatory landscape continued to evolve, further complicating matters for Assurance IQ. In February of 2024, the FCC issued a clarification confirming that TCPA restrictions apply to AI-generated voices. This means that companies must obtain explicit consent before using AI-driven technologies to communicate with consumers. This means that companies must obtain explicit consent before using AI-driven technology to communicate with consumers. Assurance IQ, which relied heavily on such technologies, face significant challenges in adapting to these new rules. In addition, upcoming rules like the one-to-one consent requirement that has now taken effect as of January 27, 2025, tightens these restrictions even further. Businesses will need explicit seller-specific consent for calls made using regulated technologies. This development highlights the importance of proactive compliance to avoid similar pitfalls. By October of 2024, Prudential announced that it would shut down Assurance IQ, citing a lack of alignment with its long-term strategy. While the official statement was vague, industry analysts have noted that the $21 million TCPA settlement and the subsequent reputational damage were likely decisive factors. The Assurance IQ case offers critical lessons for the insurance industry. Compliance with telemarketing regulations is not optional. Companies must invest in robust compliance frameworks. Failure to do so can result in significant financial penalties, reputational harm, and even the collapse of the business. Assurance IQ's rise and fall is a stark reminder of how quickly things can change in today's fast-paced, regulated business environment. While innovation is crucial, it must go hand in hand with compliance. By balancing these priorities, insurance carriers can protect their reputation, avoid lawsuits, and ensure long-term success. Now, in the beginning of the video, I mentioned some statistics that lead me to believe that this issue isn't going away anytime soon. There were some figures in this Assurance IQ case that I feel show motivation of the FCC to continue to go after these TCPA violations. To illustrate this, we're going to go to the board. In the settlement documentation, the FCC published the exact number of unique phone numbers pulled from Assurance IQ's phone records. According to the documents, there were more than 3.1 million unique phone numbers identified in the settlement class, and a $5,000 incentive award was offered to plaintiffs just for their quote-unquote efforts in bringing the action, not to mention the nearly $8.8 million paid to the attorneys for settling the case. Now, given these incentives, I can easily foresee litigators seeking future cases as well. If you find this video to be insightful, feel free to share with anyone you think it may help. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.